Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 56 of the Bright Horizons podcast. I apologize for all of your ears out there, but we are back. Now,
Boom!
I wish we didn't put anything on the soundboard for this, but we are back, ladies and gentlemen. And I know I say we, but for you guys, it probably hasn't been too long since you've seen him. It's been a minute since you've seen me, and it's been a minute since I have metaphorically seen you through the camera lens. And my God, is it a good feeling to be back here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got lots to talk about, lots to break down in this episode. I know you've got some topics you want to talk about. We'll get to that in a moment. But ladies and gentlemen, one thing you got to know is sometimes you fall off the horse. You know, some days, some weeks, sometimes you mess up. You fall, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you get back up, hop back on that horse, and keep riding to infinity. Pause on that sentence. Pause on that sentence. But listen, guys, I have felt terrible, but I cannot explain to you the joy and pure euphoria I feel sitting in this chair in front of this camera again. Like, I can't even explain it to you guys. I apologize for all that has happened, and we will talk about why it's been so long, why we've been so inconsistent. But before that, I've yapped for about 2 minutes now. Pass it over to you to continue with the topics for today.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that he sums up the intro pretty well. It's so funny. I really thought he was going to come into this mellow. He was like, let me do the intro. I got this. We're going to be chill.
I thought I'd throw you a little
Welcome
curveball.
back. Pop, pop,
You
pop.
know?
Yeah.
I'm not, you guys probably aren't used to me doing the intro, but we've been away. So, we've been away.
That was exactly what we needed, the energy we needed to bring. So, yeah, first and foremost, apologies for being gone for so long. Now, obviously, to you guys, it doesn't feel as long because our guest episode was uploaded a week or so ago. But for us, it's been a minute because that episode was recorded a long
Oh my
time
God,
ago.
wait, hold on. One more thing. Sorry to cut you off, but Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah, I was getting to that.
Oh,
Why
sorry,
you
my bad, dude.
steal
My
my
bad,
thunder,
dude.
man?
All right,
Okay.
continue.
Anyways, rewind. Let's just pretend he didn't say anything, okay?
Yeah.
That episode was a long time ago, way before Christmas or New Year. We recorded that, and it was supposed to go up that week, and then we were supposed to record more episodes. Things kind of happened. It was a very, very chaotic season, which we'll get into. There's a lot of stories. But as he mentioned, hypothetically mentioned, you guys forgot about that. We rewinded.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Bright Horizons fam. We love you guys so much. I hope that you got to spend it all with the people you love. I hope you spent it with family. I hope that you enjoyed your holiday season and you're ready for a new year, a fresh start. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. I'm kind of sad because I wanted to do a special episode. I have something in my eye, and it is really, really irritating, man. Oh,
Thanks,
my
man.
God.
But if I'm being honest, if I could take it away for a second.
Go
One
ahead.
thing is, obviously, I really wanted to put out a Christmas episode for you guys. Sorry we didn't do that. Again, I really wish that we could have got a proper New Year's episode also for you guys. Sorry again for that. But I did want to backtrack to the fact that I remember recording our last year's New Year's episode.
I was about to say that too.
I remember it, and we're like, oh, this is a perfect time. We're going to talk about clean slates and everything. And I was like, I don't know why I'm like talking about this. It's not necessarily pertinent, but it was just a thought I had. And it's really nice to be able to reflect on that fact that like, I still remember sitting down here a year ago and recording an episode, right? It's been, in the grand scheme of things in life, a year doesn't seem like that much time. But dude, that feels a lot longer ago than I remember. And especially the reflection aspect of it, like to look back on how this podcast was a year ago, man, garbage, but I'm proud of that garbage, because it's an indicator of how far I've come. And genuinely, guys, I can't express to you the happiness that I feel knowing how much, like, it's not crazy. Our growth is not crazy. We're not some explosive YouTube channel, but to us, it's big. Right, and I hope that you guys out there don't feel discouraged over the fact that we've been a little inconsistent. Not a little. We've been very inconsistent as of late. But right now we're nailing down a schedule. We're actually about to get kind of canned on that for a multitude of reasons. However,
which we're going to get into.
We will get into. But genuinely from the bottom of my hearts, to end off this intro, I want to say thank you guys for sticking with us through all the inconsistencies, all the issues, all the late uploads, all the no uploads. But I want you guys to know that we do genuinely care, that we love making this content, and our inconsistencies in recording doesn't reflect how we feel about this. This will never become a cash grab or just a whenever we can upload to get views, do it kind of a scheme. I would say more, we're here to help you guys and, to take you along on this journey with us. So, again, apologies for everything that has happened so far. But now, we're going to move on.
Well,
because
yeah,
we'll get to reasons and stuff in the future, but we're going to move on from the topic of our mistakes. And
the last thing I will say is, just as an ending note, even the most esteemed entrepreneurs who dedicate their lives to their companies, every once in a while, take time off to explore, to learn. And while I'll say that this wasn't necessarily an intentional time off, it was definitely full of lessons, definitely full of lore. And without further ado, let's jump into it. The first thing I want to talk about, more than anything, everything happens for a reason, right? That is something that I have learned in the past couple of months. Because let me tell you guys, there is a crazy, crazy story that I'm going to get into right now to open up this episode. And that is the story of my employment. Most people don't know. Actually, nobody knows this story.
We haven't talked about
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. This is ridiculous.
All the way back to July. We haven't talked about it. That's where the story starts. So I'm going to sum it up. Obviously, I don't want to take up 15 minutes talking about this. But in July, I had been working at McDonald's for about 3 years. Do I have complaints about it? Not particularly. I'm not a person who really hated it. I'll say that I went through a period of my life where I despised it and couldn't stand it. But towards the end of it, I was doing all right. I had the Brighter Horizons attitude, so even in that place, I was still happy. I had good people around me. But at the end of the day, you got to move on at some point, and I decided it was time for me to leave. So in July or June, I quit, traveled the world. I went to Japan with a friend group, as all of you know. I went to New York. I went to Toronto. But before traveling, I applied for a new job because I figured I'm an adult. I need money to pay the bills. So let's get a new job. So I applied at my gym. And I thought, dude, this is going to be awesome. I love being here already. Imagine getting a job here. So I applied. They just so happened to be hiring thanks to their expansion that was happening. And I had an interview within that week. So I went in, dressed all spiffy. I was excited. And I go into the interview. I sit down and I absolutely crush it. I was on fire. It was too easy. And after the interview, I felt relatively confident. But at the same time, if I didn't get the job, I wasn't going to be upset because I did good. I knew I did good. I get the call. You're hired. When can you start? And when I got that call, I was not very excited. I couldn't explain it. And I felt the same thing when I walked out of that interview. Because I just knew for some reason I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy. I remember walking out of the interview saying, man, that went really well. But for some reason, I'm not as happy as I should be. I feel like my purpose isn't being fulfilled here. I can't even explain why. I just genuinely don't know. But ask anyone, even this guy. I came home and I told you, remember? I said, I don't feel like that was challenging enough. I don't feel fulfilled. I this, yeah. And then I called Eric. I was like, dude, I feel I got the job, but I just don't feel happy. Then I went to Japan and they said, it's okay. Go to Japan, come back, and we'll train you. Then I went to New York and Toronto. I came back. And I was like, hey, I'm really excited to start my first week. When can I come in? Then I get an email back that says, sorry, you were gone for too long. We hired new people. Now, reading that email crushed me. Even though I had a feeling like this wasn't meant to be, I still wanted the job. I need money. I have bills to pay. So I moved on, right? I just read the email. I couldn't stand it. And they said, reach out in a couple months and maybe we'll have an opening for you. So months go by. And as the months went on, I was thinking, man, I need to get a job. I need to get a job. I was pressured by my, financial situation. I was pressured by some of the people around me. Dude, you need to get a job. And I kept telling myself that. And I hated myself for consistently putting it off. And I wanted to get into sales. I told Eric, I told you that I wanted to get into sales because I feel like it would be interesting and a fun experience. But I also don't want to sell something I'd hate selling, like windows or doors. Fast forward to November. We're looking for a watch to buy for my father. Now I'm looking around and I find this store and it's beautiful. They have so many luxury brands that you just can't find in our area unless you have to go somewhere kind of far away, like about an hour drive where all the boutiques are. I look at it, I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I would love to work here one day. Then I thought to myself, maybe I can work here. So me and my brother, we decided, all right, let's go do some recon. So we went there one day to go check out some watches. I also went there with the ulterior motive of finding out what it would take to get a job there. I go in, we're talking to the sales associate, and she's selling us the watch. And in there, I'm kind of talking about my passion for watches and how watches mean a lot more than money and the memories tied to them and all that. And eventually, she smiles and realizes that something about me was different. I don't know what she saw, but she saw something. Takes me to the back of the office there, of the sales room, and she knocks on the wall, this giant wooden wall, and the door just swings open from there. And this very professional-looking man walks out, and he shakes my hand, asks me for my name, and pretty much gives me a mini interview on the spot. Right then and there, he said, all right, bring your resume, come back tomorrow. That's your first interview. I interviewed, had a bunch of, steps along the way, made good impressions, crushed the interviews, and got a job there. And I could not be happier. I was so tripped up about the fact that I lost that job at the gym. And I put so much pressure on myself to get one, but I just had to wait and see the vision for what was planned for me because I'm happier than I could have ever imagined working here. It's a job I actually like. I wake up every day with a smile going to this job while also still being a full-time student. I love it. I love it. I spend my weekends there. I spend every day off from school there. I love it. So when you go through something, man, you just got to trust the process, trust the vision. Eventually things will go right. But yeah, December has been a crazy month. I've been working a lot, and that's one of the reasons why we've been so inconsistent.
Yeah. One of the things, like, basically for your story that I think sums it up so well is it's a Kanye quote where, he's talking and he says, it's not that I'm not right, it's that I'm not right now. And he meant it in a more narcissistic way of him being, like, in the future and kind of stuff like that. I don't know about that, but rather I think in your life, sometimes it's not I wouldn't, like, if I were to rephrase the quote, I would say sometimes things are, and it's not that things are not right, it's that things are not right now. Certain events aren't supposed to happen right now. Certain people aren't supposed to happen right now. Like, for example, maybe you fumble the girl of your dreams that you think, but that leads to you meeting somebody even better, a month down the line, right? So sometimes I think we get caught up in what we think is perfection. And this is something that I've really reflected on. And I think coming out of this new year, not that it's because the new year, I think I've had a lot of recent experiences that have changed my view on a lot of things. And one of the main things I realized is that perfection is such an interesting topic because I think it both exists and doesn't exist. I think objectively, perfection will never exist, but subjectively, it always will. And what I mean by that is, for example, I would say you, right? You're my brother. I would say you're a perfect brother. Meaning there is nothing on this earth I would change about you. There is not a single characteristic or aspect that I would say I would want to change about you. Now, that doesn't mean that there are things that you do that don't, like, that piss me off. You piss me off all the time, right? This guy sometimes when we're playing Brawl Stars gets super hype or angry for no reason. Right? Sometimes he just yells at me for no reason.
Sometimes our teammates are trash.
Yeah, and sometimes he's really annoying. That's just a part of life. But yet, despite those flaws, I still think you're a perfect person. Right? And first off, it's a lesson to all of you to embrace the flaws of the people that you truly love. Right? Especially your parents, I think is some place that we all mess up. Because we always want to, sometimes see our parents in not so great lighting. Because obviously they have a hard job. Their job is to kind of say no at times and be the kind of villain in our lives. But at the end of the day, the fact that you can still love them despite any things they say, things they do. Now, obviously, I can't speak for everybody out there. I know there are a lot of people in tough scenarios with their parents. But for a vast majority of people, especially if you have access to this and you're watching this podcast, if you have a good relationship with your parents, understand that they're not perfect people either. Or any of the people that you love in your life. They're not perfect people, but they are. That's the funny thing. That's the contradiction, is that it's all in your perception of what you consider to be perfect. In my family, there's not a single thing I would change about any of them. For my friends, my really close friends, there's not a thing that I would change about them. Are there things that make me angry? Absolutely. Absolutely. All my friends out there got pet peeves that I dislike. Yet, I wouldn't change any of it. Why? Why is that? If people could be objectively perfect, would we even want that? And that's where my realization came in that we don't want that. Is that we like flaws. At the end of the day, we love people for the fact that they're not perfect, right? I think it's funny because we tend to meet perfect people and we hate them. Think about the times you've met somebody who's so highly standard, Some guy who gets 100% in all of his classes is like this perfect student. Why is he so hated by so many people?
The professional cousin, the one that your parents come home and say like, you should be more like your cousin Jimmy. Gosh darn Jimmy getting straight A's, going to the army, becoming a NASA astronaut and doing all this crazy stuff.
Being a doctor too. Like you already know this guy's
and
got
a lawyer.
7 PhDs, has 15 jobs, is making $3 billion a year. Yeah, he's objectively perfect.
And yet we all hate him.
And yet why do we hate him? Why do we dislike this Jimmy? What did Jimmy do wrong? Jimmy wasn't human. That's the best way I can put it, all right? Think about those accomplishments we described, right? The only person I know with 7 PhDs is Bruce Banner. And that ain't happening.
He ain't real.
Right? So the thing I've found is perfection that we believe exists is overrated. Instead, embrace people's flaws. And the truth is, what we consider flaws, or what most people consider flaws, I consider it character. Right? To look at a person and see that sometimes they could be wrong is what makes them so much more beautiful. That's one of the main reasons that I really like The Office as a TV show. Because there is no objective protagonist or antagonist in the show. Like, obviously, there are people that are shown in more, like, bright lighting than others. However, there's always episodes to showcase the flaws of certain characters, right? There are other shows that don't do that. They take this character and make them perfect, and then it's like, okay, that's cool, but I can't really relate to this guy because guess what? I'm not. Relatable people are the best people, right? Because they're people you can connect with on a fundamental level. Because guess what? They're like you. At the end of the day, the reason that humans can connect is because we are so similar. So for us to sit here and believe that perfection exists or that it's even desirable to chase it, I think is foolish.
Yeah.
Instead, your flaws are part of who you are. So chasing some perfect image, it's not just a waste of time, but it's not even desirable. It's not even what you want. So I would say reflect that, and especially not just with yourself, but with the people around you, right? Take a good look at the people you love and tell me if they're perfect, right? If they're objectively perfect. You'll probably say no. Actually, you should say no. If you don't say no, you're lying. So, but then question, how much would I change about that person? Because I'm willing to bet you it would be slim to none. Because guess what? You don't value perfection, you value people.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that the underlying message in all of that is just don't try to be perfect, just strive to be you. Just
exactly.
Be yourself, make improvements, and don't focus too much on the final product. And this is exactly why I got to give a shout out to my boy. Shout out to my boy, Kevin. Okay, my goat, Kevin. Now, this is coming from today. From today, okay, on the way back from class, like I had to run some errands, but he needed a ride, so I took him home. And on the way, we pretty much just did 5v5 battles for each like anime that we've watched, just for fun. Okay, yeah. For the record, I completely mogged him in Bleach, but then I got absolutely mogged in Baki. But whatever. Okay, Kevin, touche. All right, but he's a guy that I can just sit there and just talk about goals, about the future, and just even though we have differing opinions on some things, he's a really genuine guy. And the reason why I brought him up was when you said nobody likes a show that doesn't showcase people's faults, I was thinking about him asking me a question. And the question was, what made you start watching anime? Because I told him, you and I were D1 anime haters a couple years ago. Like, a lot of you don't know this, but before we started watching Hunter x Hunter or Vinland Saga or Naruto or anything, we hated anime. Absolutely despised it.
Might have been S-tier haters. Like, it was ridiculous.
D1 might not even be a good enough term. S-tier is probably there.
Professional.
Yeah, professional haters, okay? And I remember for the first time after my friends like continuously told me to watch it, kept saying no. But then one day I thought to myself, maybe I'll give it a try. Turn on Netflix and I watched Naruto for the first time. And when I got to Zabuza, that episode crushed me. It changed my perspective on everything because he's not a good guy, objectively, but at the end, you see a change in character. And that was something I hadn't seen yet because I hadn't watched a show with character development like that, where they can do a full 180 and become a good guy. It's always good guy beats bad guy, moves on to the next bad guy. Not good guy beats bad guy, but now the bad guy becomes a good guy. You know?
In Zuko, but fair enough.
Okay, true. But in this case, at least, that was really all I could think about.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, the difference, the flaws being shown in this character, but yet there's still a good person behind it, showed me that the world is not so black and white. There's a lot of gray. The world's a vast place. You can't really judge people too easily.
Yeah. You know, this is actually very interesting because I've come across a dilemma. Dude, I don't know why I'm stumbling so much lately, but I came across a dilemma. Now, I'm taking a organizational behavior class, basically just human resources, like kind of stuff. Just talking about like, oh, how do people act in organizations, stuff like it's a very commonsensical class. But one of the things the prof talks about a lot is perception. Now, do I think she wastes a lot of time talking about it? Perhaps, mayhaps, if you will. But there is an interesting point because obviously I don't think my prof is ever going to see this, but no offense with what I'm about to say. Actually, it's not really offensive, more that it's extremely contradictory. The way that she teaches is very contradictory because at times she's like, oh, people are making perceptions about you and people should make perceptions about you. But then she'll flip the switch a video later and be like, guys, do not make perceptions about anybody, or at least preconceived notions. And I was always heavy on the no judgment, right? I don't want to judge people. But once you get into the business space, I think it's a very different lifestyle, or it's a different environment. And it's hard because I realized you can't mimic individual values on a corporate scale. So for example, in my life, it's easy for me, for every person that comes across me, to be like, okay, I'll give this person a shot. That's easy for me because how many people do I really run into in my life that I end up having, giving a shot, actually having a conversation with? It's not many people. But take a massive corporate job, you have hundreds of applicants. Do you really have time to give every single person an equal shot? Right? And this is the one thing that I fear about the corporate world as a person getting into it. Obviously, I'd say I come from a really good place. So it's easy. If I'm going to a job, right? There's one thing that she talks about heavily is like, oh, for example, a pregnant mother is trying to get this position, right? The person is most likely going to hire somebody else because eventually that person is going to have to give birth, take maternity leave. That's probably going to be really, that's going to be a pretty bad time for the company, right? You're just losing a new employee a couple months or maybe even a couple weeks into the position, right? So that's one thing that they said. And then there's this whole video about it where it's, oh, this pregnant mother goes in for the job interview. It's like a Darman video, basically. Similar premise. It's not the exact same, but similar premise. And then the guy is like, oh, but you're going to be on break and stuff like that. And then she's like, oh, what makes you think I'm going to go on maternity leave? And then he was like, oh, I guess my preconceived notion is that all mothers go home to stay with their kids. And, the fathers are the ones that come to work. And obviously, I think it's not a necessarily fair argument to make, right? It's not like every single mother is always going to stay at home taking care of the kids. Sometimes it's the father. Mm-hmm. But my problem and the point I'm getting to is that wouldn't it make sense for the person to hire somebody who wouldn't have to go on leave at all? Right? From a management standpoint, that makes more sense. Ethically, it's hard to say, right? But sometimes I think that life is very blurry in that sense, right? I think that people try to rationalize human behavior and it just doesn't work. That's my issue with the course, actually. This is kind of me venting to you guys about why I don't like this course, is that its whole premise is we can rationalize human behavior. But the very next thing they say is humans are irrational. So it's like, okay, well, So we're just throwing the first concept out the window. Because this is the one thing I've also learned from macroeconomics. They say, hey guys, everything you learn in this course is based on what a rational person would do. But understand that people are not rational.
So then what's the point?
Right? You can learn the principles. Sure, it's cool. Oh yeah, okay, this person will buy this many things. Yeah, supposing that they're perfectly rational and act in a perfectly rational sense. But that's not true, right? I think that, like, I'm not slandering my economics class because the way he teaches it is very good, considering that it's just a foundation. But there's a reason that you establish the fact that people aren't rational, right? People are going to act irrationally. So you can't predict behavior like that. I think that that's a fault in the system, is trying to be like, oh, people will act this way, so act this way. And that's one reason I'm not a fan of books like The 48 Laws of Power. And I know that we've put it up here, or even, like, not entirely. I haven't read it yet, so I can't speak to it. But at least what I draw from it is parts of how to win friends and influence people. The reason is I understand the premise of, I like the win friends part, not so much the influence people part. The reason for that is, obviously I understand that it's important to, hold up perceptions of yourself to other people, right? If you're going in for a job interview, obviously be a good person, right? However, I think that sometimes people get so rigid to what they read or the facts that they forget how to be adaptable. I think that what these books should really teach is just how to be an adaptable person. Or that's what this course should teach, is how do you change things about yourself so you can still maintain personality while being more fit for specific social scenarios.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
There was a situation which I'm going to get into.
Sorry.
Why?
You know what else is
Why
crazy?
would you have to do that? You know what else is crazy? No.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Stop.
Sorry,
Stop.
apologies.
Stop it. Okay. Anyways, there was a situation at school, and I was reading this book, which I'm going to put up there when I'm done, but it's called Deep Work. I'm pretty sure all of you have heard of it. In the intro to the book, he talks about the reasons why deep work is important. And he gives an example of this young man who got a degree in some form of accounting. He got a degree in some form of accounting, graduated with, high GPA honors, and gets a job at this firm. And his job is pretty much input numbers into this Excel spreadsheet. This job will typically take a person 6 hours. Obviously for him, it took longer because he was just getting started, but he was really good at using Excel. He knew shortcuts, so he started building equations in Excel to do it for him. Now this 6-hour job gets cut down to a 1-hour job at max. He was very efficient. But he also realized that he could be replaced instantly. So instead, what he became a professional at was computer programming. Do you want to know how he did it?
How?
Instead of looking online and programming like a normal person, he decided to get rid of all his distractions because he realized he couldn't study. His brain could no longer handle prolonged periods of work. So he got rid of all of his distractions. Every technological item he owned was put in a room. He locked himself in a different room with no distractions and studied a textbook and took notes, highlighting pieces of code in a textbook. That's how he taught himself how to program. Not using a computer, not running simulations, not practicing anything. Because he knew that if he tried, it would just lead to more distractions, which he actually did try before trying this whole locking himself in a room technique. He went to an event where all the top graduates from computer science go to gather and, talk about code. It's one of the most intensive programs in the entire country. He goes there and he kills the program, even though he hasn't run these programs on an actual computer. Okay? Now, from his experience, what we learn is the more important thing than having a certain skill set is the ability to learn things quickly. Your job might be replaceable, but your ability to learn things insanely quick is not replaceable. That's why even though his field became obsolete, he got pretty much outworked by an Excel spreadsheet. But then he moved on to a new field when computer programming was booming, learned it instantly, and boom, now he's in a new field. So you need to be adaptable. You need to learn things and learn them quick. But you can't do that when you're distracted. Now, I want to do a deep dive into this book and a lot of the principles behind it because I think it could genuinely change your guys' life, my life as well, because this is a very, very pivotal semester for me. I got a very high course load, And this is about to be the lock-in of the century. So in order to do that, I need to achieve flow states. I need to achieve deep work. So as I finish this book, as I apply the principles to my own life, I'll do a review in a couple of months and explain to you guys the benefits and all that. So stay tuned for that. But now there's something that is a bit tragic that is going on right now that I think that we need to discuss. The LA wildfires. First and foremost, I want to say that our hearts and best wishes go out to every single person that is affected by this situation. I hope that, everything subsides, and that if you are being affected, just know that we are praying for you. All right? We wish the best for you. But this situation is also a good learning experience, right? At the end of the day, everything that happens that's bad, right, teaches you something. There's something to be learned. Absolutely, there is time to mourn. It's a tragedy at the end of the day. People are losing things every single day. People are displaced. But when you take a step back as well and kind of look at it, it teaches you a lot. And like we talk about almost every single episode, nothing is promised. Imagine you're just chilling in your house. Next day it's gone. Literally anything can happen, man. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. And the thing is, I didn't even know that these fires had started until I went to look at the NHL schedule. That's the crazy thing. I didn't know about the fires.
I didn't really know much about it.
Exactly.
I heard about it briefly, but do you know what was the cause for it? It's just...
See, now here's the thing. This is not a conspiracy theorist channel, but there is a lot of conspiracy theories, some of which you could really get into, but that's not what we're here to do. At the end of the day, I'm focusing on the impact on the average civilian. Nothing to do with the celebrities or all this controversy. I'm looking at the average person, and it's terrible. But I learned about it through the NHL schedule because I looked at what games were happening tonight. I looked at the LA Kings versus Calgary Flames game, and it said postponed. I was like, why is it postponed? Then I checked, and it's like, oh, there's wildfires. So I started looking at videos, and boom, you see the entire area completely decimated. So it's funny because as I was thinking about this and putting it in this video, I thought about two things. One, how excited I am to be a big channel where we can start fundraisers for people that are, faced with adversity and help them in any way we can, number one. But number two, I saw a video, and it's of Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's this beautiful clip where he talks about a flower and giving a loved one a flower. He says, when you give a loved one a flower on a special occasion, do you give them a plastic one because it lasts forever? No, you give them a real one that has organic parts to show them how true your love really is. Now, this organic flower will die eventually. It will pass. There is no portion of that flower that will live forever. So why do we give this flower? Why is it beautiful if it's going to be gone one day? It's the fact that that beauty is not there forever that makes it so beautiful and allows you to appreciate it. Now, we look at this situation in LA. We understand that the same way we were given all this stuff, we can lose it all tomorrow. That perspective should be enough for each and every one of us to appreciate the things we have. Just remember, man, you got great stuff in your life. No matter what's going on, you got good things. There's always something good in your life. That's rule number one about having a good life. Just appreciate things. The more you appreciate, the more you have. Which is such an interesting thing. The more you appreciate what you have, the bigger that stuff seems.
That's true. I think that's why we always feel like we have nothing, or people feel like they have this emptiness, is because of the fact that they let those things be so small, right? The little wins be little. But you don't need to live like that, man. I think that there's a lot of beautiful things in our day-to-day lives that we just don't really recognize. And we walk around acting as if life is so dark and bland, but it isn't. And one thing that I've really noticed as of late is that reality is very bland. The real world is very bland. It is very dull, and there's nothing to it. And what I mean by that is that reality is, in a sense, black and white. I think that reality, the real world, is very simple. But that's why we don't choose to live in reality. That's why we choose to imagine, to dream, right? To build these worlds around us. Because the truth is, objective reality is so simple, right? if you really think about it, and for example, if you look at everything in a term of numbers, life is kind of bland. If you just see every person as just another NPC living in the world that you can't interact with, life is simple. It's hella boring, but it's simple. I think that imagination is what gives life meaning, right? The ability to dream of things that aren't true yet, I think, are very beautiful. People strap themselves down to reality and don't give themselves the chance to fly. And I think that that's selling yourself short, because imagination's pretty beautiful, man. And I've noticed this as of late, because one thing I always questioned was my music taste. Because everybody always has their, like, or at least from what I've like seen, a lot of people are so like set in their music taste. And then when I look, this really came around because of the whole like Spotify Wrapped. We're on Apple Music, so Apple Music Replay, don't judge us too hard. But I open my Apple Music Replay and I'm like flipping through it, and it's the same every year. Is that every month or a couple of months I go through? I mean, I guess I could call it a phase, but it's just me listening to a specific song on repeat. So, for example, as of late, or at least like this year, my most listened to song was Mia and Sebastian's theme from La La Land on the piano, because I was learning how to play it on the piano. But I listened to that song, I think, like 250 times. And I started listening to it in October.
250?
250 in like 3 months. So, ridiculous amount of times. Now, it's a short song, so fair enough. But then there's the other thing where I didn't even listen to Bruno Mars last year. And then this year, he was my most listened to artist by a large margin, because I just decided to start listening to his music. The one thing I noticed is the reason that I listen to music is to imagine, to dream, to see beyond what is right in front of my eyes. So when I put in a song, and the reason I listen to songs on repeat and I don't get tired of them is because with every song to me is a scenario, a dream, an imagination, a place where I can go. So that's what makes my life so colorful. And people always asking, because I listen to music very often. Like, I mean, I don't think it's the best habit to always have an AirPod in, but I almost always have an AirPod in, especially when I'm like, I'll deliberately take longer routes between my classes so that I have more time to walk and listen to music.
That's
because
very interesting.
I really like to get lost in that imagination. I'm a clinical overthinker, right? So every scenario, I think of every possible scenario. Any situation in my life, every day, I go to sleep thinking about how tomorrow's going to go. And being able to listen to music really changes that for me, because I get to escape into this little fantasy world. And I think a lot of people chain themselves down to reality and don't allow themselves to dream, because they're like, oh, I need to, keep it real, or there's no point in it. But I think there is, because the one thing imagination has given me is hope. And it gives me hope that these situations could happen, right? Like, maybe not. It's like, for example, I don't want to say kids, but from a young age, every dude that I've known has definitely had that dream of like, oh, I'm gonna, school shooter's gonna come to the school and I'm gonna save everybody. It's a very common thing that a lot of us think about. Why is that? Because we get to be a hero, right? It's a cool thing that we all fantasize about. And I smile at that thought of, oh my God, I could be a hero, That's something that we smile about. Why is that? Because we're in our imagination, right? We get to live in there. Mm-hmm. So imagination can make your life so colorful. I think that reality is the silhouette and imagination is, the paint. And that's why you need a balance of both to make your life beautiful.
I mean, let me tell you, if you want to talk about diverse music tastes, this is the place to be, because me and this guy will go through crazy phases of listening to the most random stuff.
Oh, yeah.
For example, we listen to rap all the time, but then every once in a while, we'll randomly play Whiplash. Yeah. Just a straight drum song, a straight band song, or like actual band music from YouTube, like Mazatlan by Carl Stroman. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it.
Great song.
It is gas. If you want to talk about our top songs, my top 10, I actually pulled it up just so I could tell you some of the songs on here, okay? We got number 1 is Die With A Smile, okay? That's a crazy number 1 just because it came out semi-recently, and I was only put onto it by this guy. But
just to be clear, also, we were put onto it right when it came out, not after it's gone through.
Oh,
It
yeah,
is
yeah,
on
yeah.
every video on
Every
Instagram, TikTok.
Oh my god.
It is everywhere. But
before
we
it
were
was
there
used.
before it was big. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, okay.
But
So
yeah.
there's that. Then there's Can't Stop by Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is the song I use in my alarm on my phone. I don't know why I chose that one, but I just figured, the crescendo at the very beginning is kind of like a waking me up slowly. And I don't know, I just like the song. So that's number 2. So very drastic difference. Then you can jump down and look at Bohemian Rhapsody, which is one of my most played songs. I don't know why. It's just really good.
I think it was because that one time we just went through like a month of just listening to it.
Yeah, over and over
repeat,
again.
yeah.
That and Don't Stop Me Now.
Yeah.
We listen to that religiously. But then right after that, you can see songs like A Lot by 21 Savage, All Falls Down by Kanye West, Champion by Kanye
That's
West.
so good.
So good. What else do we have in here that's really weird? Meh. Everything else is pretty normal. Touch the Sky.
Go to song.
So good. That song gets me in the positive vibes. If you guys haven't
Yeah.
listened to this song, I don't know how you haven't listened to it. Go listen to it. Touch the Sky by Kanye West. Shout out to the GOAT. Honestly, Kanye West. Okay.
Recent controversy aside, musically, he's.
I'd say
very
that's
good.
kind of like almost old.
But
news
it
now.
is kind of old.
It's kind
Dude,
of
the
old
world
stuff.
moves too fast, man. We get to this every couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say it, man. The world is moving quick.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the last thing I'll say about music, you know what? I've been listening to 2 songs religiously. Well, 3 songs religiously recently. Do you want to guess what they are?
Can I guess? Like,
Yeah.
is it possible that I would?
Because I've played them in front of you, like both of them, all 3 of them actually.
You gotta give me a hint.
Okay, well, one of them is not. 2 of them are not rap songs.
Really doesn't help me much.
They're rock songs.
Oh, okay. Kickstart My Heart.
There
is
you
one
go.
of them.
That's one.
I don't know. What the other
Kickstart
one
My Heart by Motley Crue. That song is so
I have no
good.
idea what the other one would be, but
Freebird.
oh, I know you played it in the car once with Eric. But
Yes,
yeah.
I also play that almost every single day when I'm going to work because that guitar solo just gets me super hyped.
Mm.
And then the last song, Complete Curveball, Lil Demon by Future. Yeah, I don't know why. I just can't explain it. Kickstart My Heart, Freebird, Lil Demon. Those are my top 3 songs for the week. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Fair enough.
Peace out. No, okay. But moving on from music, I'll say the last thing we definitely need to cover is the new year, man. This is technically our first episode being recorded in the new year.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about what our plans are moving forward, how other people can start the new year off with a bang, because I'd say you and I have started it off better. We've set a lot of goals. We've made changes to our day that have improved our lives dramatically, and we're hoping to see the fruits of that soon. But I think that my number one thing for everybody listening is don't worry if you don't see results right away, because some of these habits that you implement will take some time to show their fruits. For example, one thing is you and I made a Google Calendar. Google Calendar helps plan a lot of your day, but obviously in the beginning, it's kind of tough to stick to it. We haven't been super on the ball about it yet, especially with a new course schedule and everything. We're easing into it right now, but things have not been
I'm trying to see where this we is, because my first point going into this was going to be everybody out there right now, go make a Google Calendar. It is the best thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Okay.
I don't listen, I know I'm completely going
No,
against
go
it,
ahead.
but
Go ahead, man.
First off, it's synced to my phone, right? To the Apple calendars,
Oh,
right?
it's so good.
So like, listen, like, oh, what classes you got, man? Boom. All my classes right there on whatever day I want. Just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you guys to see all my classes. I feel like that would be weird. But in any case, it's super helpful, especially at the beginning. Like, again, this is my advice to any of you guys getting into university or even in high school. Maybe it could be useful if you really disorganize somehow.
I think it's just good to set the habits.
Yeah, is that it also helps to immediately put your deadlines. Like, for example, in my calendar, I have all my midterms already posted. I have all my assignments that are due already posted. Like, I put all those in my Google Calendar on the first day. So when I went into lecture, the only thing I really listened to for the first lectures, because a lot of it's just intro stuff, is what dates are the midterms. Put those in my calendar right away. They're established, right? We don't have finals dates yet. But getting organized, I'd say, is step number 1. And that doesn't just mean the planning aspect. So for the Google Calendar, the reason that I think it's working so well with me is you start with unavoidable things, right? I put my classes in my Google Calendar. You could say that's redundant. It doesn't matter. You're going to your classes anyway. But no, it helps me plot out where do I actually have free time.
To visualize.
Exactly. Visualization there is so good because once I did that, I started plotting study breaks. Like, okay, between these classes, I have 2 hours. What class should I study for here? Right? And then I have another hour break here. What should I study? I have 3 hour break here. What should I study? Doing that helps you break it down so much more. If you start with people are trying to put in okay, I want to start working out. What days am I going to work out? And then you put those in, you're putting in an avoidable habit. That way, if you miss it, it makes you very discouraged to do it the next day or the next or the next. But if you put in unavoidable things, it makes you feel very much that you are sticking to your schedule because inevitably you will do so. I'm not going to be skipping school, so what is on my calendar, I'm following to a T right now.
And you're getting that win.
Exactly. But now once I start adding the other stuff in between, it's going to be like clockwork. It'll be like, okay, I'm just doing another thing that I've already basically been doing. So start out by making it almost automated. And that doesn't mean don't change anything, but it means build up to your goals slowly. You can just jump in the deep end if you want to, but a lot of people drown that way. And I think that people need to accept the fact that there is no shame in starting in the shallow end.
I guess your explanation is much better than where I was going with this because I would say we've been sticking to our Google Calendar. It's just that we haven't built it fully.
Yeah.
Like we're still missing certain components, like what days we're going to record,
I mean, again,
edit,
it's
and stuff.
your fault, but whatever.
Yeah, okay. We had some issues with our course registration, okay? So I didn't actually finalize my schedule until yesterday.
Let me boil it down to one word for you guys. Excuses.
No, it was okay.
And you guys
I take
shouldn't
responsibility.
don't follow his footsteps. Don't make excuses.
Make a Google
Do
Calendar.
your things and make a Google Calendar.
Yeah, I'll say that's very true. But I had a really, really good point that I was about to get into. Yeah, well, now that we have schedules, things are going to be much more consistent. And there is a very good point I wanted to bring up. We have 300 subs on YouTube. I guarantee that most of you guys don't know about our other social media accounts. We do have an Instagram and a TikTok, which I'm actually going to add.
And a Spotify.
Actually, yeah, if you like podcasts on Spotify, listen to us there. Low-key, we don't get the same love that we get on YouTube on Spotify.
Yeah. And also, I think it's convenient, being able to play it in the background. Or maybe you don't want to see our faces, even though we're so handsome. I don't...
That's
whatever.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's
But
okay.
yeah, I mean, either way, check out the other platforms. I'm going to start linking those in our bio somehow because I know there's a way to do that on YouTube to make it easy. But check it out so that you can get your daily dose of positivity in short form as well.
Yeah. If you got a bad attention span, we got you covered.
We got you covered.
Yeah.
So one of my goals is to really lock in with our Instagram and continue to post there and post more motivational stuff and help more people. So to do that, got to set up this Google Calendar, got to really lock it down, and we're in the process of doing that. So trust, you're going to see us around a lot more. So thank you guys for sticking with us, obviously, and we're definitely going to keep going with that. But another thing I will say about this year is we always say it's a clean slate, right? And that while it is a clean slate, to still remember the past, but I really want to focus the most on what your goals are for the year. Because everyone says, I have a New Year's resolution. You want to know something crazy? There's a thing called, I think it's National Quitting Day. And that is the second Friday of every January. Because that's when
Olive Garden
80%...
Challenge Day?
I hate you.
Sorry.
I hate you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The second Friday of every January is when 80% of people drop their New Year's resolution. All it took was 2 weeks. Do not be a statistic, my friend. Stay consistent. Stick with it, even if you don't see success right now. Okay? Do not give up. You have to set these goals and really stick to them, even if you don't feel like doing it. And this is something I thought about as I was getting out of the shower the other day. I thought...
It's very specific.
I know. Very specific. But I'm telling you, bro, there's a reason why it's called shower thoughts. You get big brain ideas in the shower because you're giving yourself a moment to think. A silent moment, no distractions. Hopefully, I mean, maybe you listen to music when you shower, but me personally, I like the peace and quiet, okay? When I stepped out of that shower, I thought to myself, would I rather enjoy this comfortable moment for the rest of my life, standing in the hot water? Would I like to be wrapped in the warm embrace of this shower for the rest of my life, or would I rather see my goals achieved? Now, stick with me for a second. Obviously, I want to see my goals being achieved, and I would take that over this comfort of being in this warm shower. So when the decision comes between making or taking a cold shower or taking this warm shower, what takes me one step closer to that goal? The cold shower. Not inherently, but by building discipline. Those uncomfortable moments, I think to myself, that's what it takes to get to my goal. So when I sit here, I give myself that second to evaluate. Am I going to take a hot shower or a cold shower? What's going to get me closer? Is the comfort going to get me there? Absolutely not. This sucky moment is what's going to get me there. So I'm going to do that. So embrace the
Sucky moments?
Yeah, pretty much. Embrace the sucky moments, man. Get in there, be uncomfortable, and grow. That's my thing. Like, I don't know why I thought about this when I was getting out of the shower, but I just did.
I think, again, reevaluate the why. This is something that Simon Sinek, it's like his biggest thing that he talks about. His biggest, most known fact is, what's your why? And the reason that so many people don't succeed on their goals is because they don't want to. Deep down, all right, viewers, we're having a quick one-on-one here. Now, look me in the eyes and think about your goals. Think about what you really wanted to accomplish. Maybe not even this new year, but at any point in your life. Something that you gave up on. And ask yourself genuinely, did you really care about achieving that goal? Did you really want to do it? Did you really want to see yourself in that position? Because if you truly did, then you would be there. But if you can't follow through on a goal, that means that there's a disconnect. It's not just that you're not disciplined, it's the fact that you don't want it enough. If you really care about a goal, then you will do whatever it takes to get there. And it's not a means of discipline. It's not a means of doing it even when you don't feel like it. It's a means of the fact that you should love every second doing it. For us, one of our goals is, uploading a video or twice a week. Why did we fall off of that, right? We made a mistake. But yet we came back to it, right? We're not going to leave this forever. We're not quitting forever, right? It was a once in a moment kind of a mistake. But we came back. Why is it? Why did we come back? Because we love it. Right now, I've been on a cut, right? I've been losing weight. And I'm not saying it's the same for everybody, right? I think I've lost probably almost 10 pounds in 2 or 3 weeks just by being on a big cut. And I'm not saying it's easy for anybody because I am a big eater. If you know me, you know that I freaking love eating food. I'm a huge person on, cooking and making my own food. I love that.
Big back.
I am a big back. But why am I able to cut whenever I want to? Is because I genuinely want to look better. I genuinely want to change how I look. And it's not saying that you need to feel the same way that I do or you need to be able to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks or whatever. It's that you need to genuinely understand why you do the things that you do. Why are you actually setting this goal? Is it just because everybody else is? Oh, everybody else is going to the gym, starting January 1st, so I might as well too. Damn, everybody's going to quit all their bad habits starting January 1st, I might as well too. Everybody's going to take a cold shower on January 1st, so I might as well too. But then why on the second Friday of January do you quit? Because you didn't really know why. You didn't really want to question why you're doing what you're doing. Find your why, and those goals will be easy. Find your why so that when you wake up in the morning, you want to do it. You do everything that is a step towards your goal with a smile on your face because you love it, because you know your why. How dare okay, first off, obviously absolute cinema, but
all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Nothing else needs to be said. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in for the revival of Brighter Horizons. Why are you doing it?
I don't know. This sounds like you're stealing my outro right now.
No, I'm not.
Let's calm down.
We are calming down. Don't worry. Let's chill.
I'm just all right. I feel like I'm being violated right now.
We're shaking off the rust. Unlike Sam Darnold disappointing me as the Vikings have a legendary fall off.
Yeah, I don't know anything about football, so.
Absolute fraudulent franchise. Okay, I'm kidding. If you're a Vikings fan, I know you're hurting right now, but it's okay. It's okay. It is what it is. Anyways, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, we're shaking off the rust. finally back on the grind. We are going to be posting more often. Check out our other socials for sure. We love you guys more than anything. Thank you for the support, especially through our inconsistencies. That is real love. So if you're sticking around, just know that my heart is with you. I appreciate each and every one of you. But take it away.
Thank you guys so much for sticking around till the very end of episode 56 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. But before you go, you guys already know what time it is. It is time for Quote
Of
the
Week.
Harem.
Quote of the week, baby. We are back. Black and white.
Sorry. There was too long of a pause there. Continue. Apologies. Rewind. I didn't look at you. Nothing happened. Continue.
Oh, God. Yeah, you're right. The pause was a little bit too long. All right.
Yeah.
All right, rewind. Black and white is for death and taxes. Everything else exists in the grays.
And who said that?
Damn, I'm kind of disappointed you don't know. Your mind is about to be blown when I say this.
Wait, can I guess?
Sure. You're not going to get it, but sure.
Oh, Mark Cuban. Kevin O'Leary. Teddy Baldessare.
No.
Stratman.
Okay, I'm just going to make you stop guessing because you're way off.
Can you give me a hint?
No.
Tyler
You're
Tony.
not getting it, okay? Just let me say it.
Dak Prescott.
What the? Why?
Lamar Jackson.
Why?
Wayne Gretzky.
I'm surprised you even know who Dak Prescott is.
How dare you? He's the
You literally just said you don't like
highest
football.
paid player in the NFL.
And yet, the Cowboys still suck.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, let me say it, okay?
Jamie Benn.
Nash Wells.
Oh. Damn, I could have got that.
Wait, absolutely cooked.
Damn, you hit a flash quote on the last episode, didn't you? If I remember correctly.
I did.
You did. That's back-to-back flash quotes.
Flash on top.
It
Flash
is.
on
You
top.
know what? Fair enough. I mean, you picked the worst Wells, but it's okay.
Hey, he had a great quote. That's all I got to say, man.
Fair enough. All right.
I mean, the main point is life is not black and white. Bad things are not bad things. Good things are not good things. There's always going to be perspective. Appreciate what you have, man. Appreciate what you have. You never know what a loss could be trying to teach you as well. So take it with, some pep in your step. Get after it. It's a new year. We love you guys. Take us with the outro.
Thank you guys so much once again for tuning in to the very end of episode 56 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. Again, thank you guys so much for sticking around throughout all of the inconsistency and problems. We promise that we will bring this forward. I know that we've said that a lot, and it might start ringing hollow, but we are really trying our best out here. In any case, make sure that you put your best foot forward in believing that the world is not so simple, that sometimes there are gray areas, and that not everything is just as it seems. Use your imagination to put smiles on the face of you and the people around you. Understand that we're not all perfect, but we don't have to be, and we're not meant to be. And make sure you live a positive life, y'all. Peace out.